welcome to InThisCornerTV.com. I'm Smitty. You know, there's nothing like the anticipation and build-up to a big-time sporting event, whether it be the Super Bowl, World Series, NBA Finals, or Stanley Cup. But you know, there's nothing like the countdown to a major world championship fight. I often say fighters are the most common and uncommon of all athletes. Common because their stories can be oh so normal. Uncommon because what they do for a living is oh so extraordinary. For fighters and fans, the countdown to a showdown can be tremendously exciting. Television has found this out, as features leading up to mega fights have proven to be very compelling programming for the viewers, which has resulted in tremendous response and revenue with pay-per-view buys. It works. Producer-director Leigh Simons is one of the leaders of these Big Bout Boxing Countdown series. The recent Floyd Mayweather versus Juan Manuel Marquez fight marked the 20th. Leigh is currently working on a full-length documentary about Oscar De La Hoya called Puncher to Promoter. We sat down with Leigh on Fight Week. How did you get involved in these countdown shows? What's your background?
My background is a totally serendipitous meeting with Oscar De La Hoya. It's, imagine the person that you idolize in life and meeting them and coming to work with them. That's my story. I was producing a little TV series for Discovery. It was called Secrets of Superstar Fitness. And we did a piece on Oscar. And I went up to Big Bear and I shadowed him throughout the whole campus fight. You know, he's preparing for campus. He was coming off a Mosley loss and he was doing a tune-up fight. And we did an interview. And what happened when we were up in Big Bear, I don't know what possessed me to do this. I was a little nervous because I was interviewing my idol to be in this show. And next thing you know, the fight moves from talking about, obviously, you're not going to lose to campus, about visualization, spirituality, how you prepare for a fight, what your vision for your life and future is. I don't know how this happened. Maybe it was the air in Big Bear. And honestly, we did the show. The fight got stopped in the 7th. And about a week later, I got a phone call from Richard Schaefer and said, Oscar really liked the piece. What else can we do together? And I was struck by this divine moment. I couldn't even believe the word. First, I went like this. Should I say I'm not available? No, I'm not going to say I'm not available. Got back on the phone and I said, no one in the history of boxing has ever been as famous as both a fighter and a promoter at the same time. Why don't we do a documentary on Oscar's life called Puncher to Promoter? And literally 2 weeks later, I met with Oscar, tried to breathe calmly, and we signed the deal.
I think these countdown shows, and I've been a part of them going way back to HBO and when Showtime was doing them as well, they're so important, and especially now I think they're more important than ever with the sport of boxing, with the competition that boxing has, with the dollar being the way it is. I think they really set the table and are so important because we don't have boxing on network television. My show, In This Corner, is the only half-hour show that's in the country where we feature the fighters. I think it's so important. How do you assemble these countdown shows? Tell us what goes into it.
Well, the thing that's happened, and I really appreciate your acknowledgement of these things, because as you know, we got a big breakthrough for the first time in many, many years. Fox Sports Net picked this show up, and it was all over America. They ran it to death, and that was fantastic for boxing. And for you to have the insight of the value of these is pretty unique. And the assembling process is really a matter of working within a reasonable budget, of doing two things: getting the vision and predictions of the media. They're the heart and soul of the promotion of the business. Talking to people, how do you see the matchup? How do you see the fight shaping up? Who do you think is going to win and why? What do you think of Floyd coming back? Can Marquez do it? And then secondly, coming up with something creative that's entertaining, that makes people say, I want to buy this thing. And I see that this is a sport that you don't even have to be a diehard boxing fan to say, let me check it out. So, it comes together in about 3 or 4 weeks through editing, shooting, trying to do creative things. If you saw this show, we did a behind-the-scenes vibe to it that was pretty well received. And every time we try and do something different.
When we had Samuel L. Jackson on the program, Sam talked about the sports movie, the sports metaphor, how well it works on film. And I think fighters, and I call fighters the most common and uncommon of all athletes. I used to sit at the 5th Street Gym with Muhammad Ali when I was 11 years old, when he was preparing to fight Joe Frazier the first time. And I just think because of what they do is so unique, it's so special. It's different than a football player, a basketball player, a baseball player. They're paid to beat people up and possibly get beat up. and it seems to play well with the public, doesn't it?
It does, and it's cliche, but it never gets old. With boxing, the fight is in the fight, and you have your team, you have your preparation, you have your training, but when you enter that ring, it's just you. And so many factors come in. That's where the drama is. And, and the science of it, I know you were a professional boxer early in your career. I've never been a professional, but I love to box, to exercise, and I have tremendous admiration for the skill involved, to master the sweet science.
Tell us about what this Oscar De La Hoya thing that's coming up from puncher to promoter. What can we expect with this? What's the time frame on it coming to air?
Puncher to promoter is not going to be an Oscar De La Hoya promotional piece. It's going to be a movie that takes an in-depth look at his career, his life, and looks at how this is a symbol for something much bigger. It's not just his transition from being the most popular fighter of his generation, the largest grossing pay-per-view fighter of his generation ever, actually. He's the largest grossing pay-per-view in the history of pay-per-view. But it's also going to be the story of how he's begun a promotional company and in the body of his career has created basically promoted the Latin American movement in America. And it's not like he set out to do that. I mean, he just set out to win the Olympics. And if you look back on the body of his career and the success that he's had, it can be a model for all Latin Americans to succeed.
And the future for Leigh Simons, what can we expect from you?
Boxing, boxing, and boxing. I love boxing. It's a privilege to be in the sport. There's a lot of dialogue about people saying, oh, boxing is slowing down or it's a dying sport. I see it as the opposite. Boxing is exploding. It's more exciting than ever. HBO, Golden Boy Promotions, the networks involved in boxing, ESPN, are doing phenomenal things, your show, to continue to grow the marketplace for a young audience, and I see only great things in the future, and I want to be a part of it.